It's always lovely to host you every Wednesday of the month. Greetings to you, leaders from the African continent and across the world. Welcome to yet another live session. This one's going to be in English. My name is Maud Nale, the communications lead right here at Digital Earth Africa, and it's such an honor to be hosting you today. We are going to be talking about a very interesting topic all about Digital Earth OWS services using ArcGIS. A web map service is an open geospatial consortium standard that allows users to remotely access georeferenced map images via secure hypertext transfer protocol requests. To talk all about this and more, and specifically that particular service using ArcGIS, I'm going to call onto the virtual stage my colleague. She is no stranger here to these Digital Earth live sessions. She is the Digital Earth Africa Earth Observation Scientist. Please welcome onto the virtual stage, Mpho Sadiki. Mpho, the virtual stage is yours. Over to you.
Thank you so much. And as Maud said, welcome back to the Digital Earth Africa live sessions. Thank you again for joining us. I'm very excited to be back on this stage, and today I'll be presenting something slightly different. So it won't be in the sandbox, but rather I will be taking you through another way in which you can interact with the Digital Earth Africa platform and our data sets as well. So we'll be focusing on how you can add the data sets into more traditional GIS software such as ArcGIS, and of course, any other software that would allow for the addition of web services such as QGIS and the likes. So to get us started, I will just start off by giving you an introduction of what this is all about. So as you know, Digital Earth Africa is a platform that aims to provide geospatial data and services for the African continent. And to ensure our interoperability and ease of access to our data, we have adopted the Open Geospatial Consortium standards, the OGC standards, which enable the seamless exchange of geospatial information across different software, systems, and organizations. So in this particular presentation, I will go into the OGC Open Web Services that we provide as Digital Earth Africa and explore how you can effectively utilize them within the Esri ArcGIS platform, which is of course a leading geographic information system software that you can use to leverage a wealth of geospatial data that is available on the Digital Earth Africa platform. These web services offer you a gateway to access and utilize the data and will empower you to analyze, visualize, and make more informed decisions based on the reliable data that we provide. So by the end of this live session, I hope you will have a solid understanding of not only the OGC Web Services, but the ones that we provide as Digital Earth Africa and their integration with ArcGIS. And I'd just like to paraphrase, or rather say, although I am demonstrating how to add these with ArcGIS, it is possible to use them in any software that would allow for the addition of web services. In fact, on the Digital Earth Africa platform, we have instructions on how you can do this not only in ArcGIS, but also in the free QGIS as well. So when we speak of the OGC Open Web Services, we're talking about standardized protocols that were developed by the Open Geospatial Consortium that facilitate the sharing and interoperability of geospatial data and services over the internet. So these services provide you with the standardized framework for accessing, querying, and manipulating geospatial information and enable you to leverage the data from different sources and platforms. So from the OGC Web Services that pertain to the Digital Earth Africa platform, we will be focusing on three main ones: the Web Map Service, which is the acronym is WMS, which allows you to retrieve georeferenced map images. We also have the Web Map Tile Service, which is essentially the same thing as a map, the WMS, but rather gives you your map in tiles for faster display and navigation. And then we'll also go into the Web Coverage Service, which is called the WCS, which provides you access to the raw raster data for further analysis. So we're starting with the Web Map Service. So this standard protocol serves you georeferenced images over the internet. It is essentially just that, it's just images. So you can't really do anything with them, but rather just visualize, display, zoom in, zoom out, but you can't actually take it further to do any analysis on it. So it's rather just for visualization and cartographic purposes. So it allows you to have remote access to map images that are generated from a map server using a GIS database data. And so it provides you a visual representation of your data in image formats such as JPEG, GIF, and PNG. So they're widely used, as I said, for visualization and cartographic purposes. So it's important to note that these images do not contain any underlying geospatial data. They are just pictures. So they, of course, when you add them, it can support the basic querying, zooming, and panning functionalities. It just makes it possible for organizations to serve GIS data as images with faster rendering speeds. The next service that we'll look at is the Web Map Tile service. This is essentially just a web map service, but tiled. So it takes the map that you have or the image and gives it to you in tiles. So if you have a large area, it won't load the whole area as a single image, but rather give you tiles that cover the entire area. And as it says there, it delivers map data as a series of pre-rendered map tiles rather than a single image, as would a WMS or a web map service. So the map tiles are generated on the server side. So they're not done on the client side, but rather on the server side at a different scale, and they're cached. So that means when you query them, they are brought to you at a faster delivery with a reduced bandwidth usage. So utilizing pre-rendered map tiles enables more efficient visualization and interactions with maps, particularly for large-scale data sets or high-resolution imagery. So the caching mechanism allows for quick retrieval, as already said, and the display of map tiles as users navigate and zoom in and out of the map. The last service that we'll focus on is the web coverage service. So this standard portal core serves coverage data over the internet as well, but it goes beyond just providing you with the images. It returns the data with its original semantics. So it allows users to access the raw geospatial raster data behind the image. So with that, it provides you with more in-depth information for analysis, interpretation, and of course, further processing. So it enables the extraction of specific data subsets and supports advanced geospatial modeling as well. So the data served through a WCS retains its original semantics for interpretation and extrapolation, and offers flexibility for applying custom algorithms and conducting spatial modeling and data integration with other geospatial data sets. So just to summarize what I just said about the three services, the WMS is just an image. You can almost think of it as like you took a screenshot of Google Maps. And a WMTS, which is a web map tile service, is identical to a WMS, but it gives you the image in pre-generated and saved tiles. And then a WCS gives you the raw raster data as well. For example, if you're working with a WCS containing Landsat imagery, you can effectively chunk off a piece of the area that you're interested in and download the full multispectral image at that spatial resolution of the original image. So the beauty of all these services is that once you bring them into your software of choice, which in this case will be ArcMap or ArcGIS, you can just grab the information that you need. You don't need to get the entire tile for all of Africa, but rather just focus on the area that you want to work on. So for the demonstration, I will be using ArcGIS Pro, but as I said, this is possible in any other software. And if you go to this link, you should be able to see that we have the instructions on our website to see all the different ways in which you can add these web services to your software for QGIS as well as for ArcGIS Pro. So for this tutorial, I'll cover three main things: setting up a WMS. And of course, a WMS comes with a WMS team. So the T in front of the WMS is for files, or rather for data that has a time component. So maybe it's created for monthly, for daily, or for annual at annual intervals. So those are supported as well. Then I'll be going through the WMTS and the WCS as well. And in order for me to do that, I will just stop sharing my presentation and then start sharing the screen with the ArcGIS Pro so we can actually go through all of this. If you have any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat. Please just bear with me as I try and share my other screen. Okay, so for demonstrations, I've opened my ArcGIS Pro, and now I will be taking you through how to add the web map service with the time component, the web coverage service, as well as the web map tiled service. So we'll start with the WMS, which is the web map service. So in this tutorial, I'll show you how to set it up in ArcGIS Pro, so you can use it with any other data that you would want to load into your software of choice. So to do that, you just need to go to Insert and go to Connections and go to Server, and you will see you have different options, but we're starting with the WMS. So you just need to make sure you select that. And now you need to give the server URL. If you go to that link that I provided with all the instructions, you will see that for each service, you will have a URL, a server URL given to you. So I'm just going to copy that from there. They are also included in the presentation, so you can just copy them from there as well. So I'll copy the URL for the WMS and paste it there. And that's literally all you need to do. You don't need to give a username and password. You don't need to change the version. Just say okay. And it should connect to the service. So if you go to your catalog, you should be able to see under server that it's now added right there. And for you to add any of the data that is included, just expand it. You'll see, just keep expanding until you sort of see the same set of data sets that you would see in the Digital Earth Africa map. So you see we have the agriculture, elevation and topography, land cover, meteorology, satellite images, surface water and vegetation. So whatever data set you want to add, just expand. You can either just right click and add to current map, or just click and drag. And you'll see that it shows you the coverage of the entire thing. And then if you want to see a specific area, you can just zoom in, and it should be able to load and show you the cropland extent 2019 layer. It's just taking a bit of time to load, but it should work in a few seconds. Let's just wait for a few seconds for it to load so we can actually see the layer rendered on the screen. Ah, there it is. So now you see that the topland layer is rendered on the screen for wherever you zoomed into. Obviously, the more you zoom out, the more time it's going to take to render, but this is essentially how you do it. You'd follow the same process if you wanted to add, let's say, let me just switch that off. Let's say you want to now move on to the, actually, let's not add a new service. We're just going to add a different service. Remember, I said we have a WMS and we have a WMST, a WMS with a time component. So for instance, we know that we have a surface water product, the annual surface water, the water observation from space product that is created for multiple years. I can make this smaller because it's covering. Yeah, I'll just move it up. So if I were to add that product, you'll notice that it comes with a sort of a, what do we call this again? A time slider. Yes, it comes with a time slider and it adds a time section in the menu bar. So this just shows you that this layer that I've just added, so the water observation from space, the annual one, has a time component and you can view it for multiple years. And then it's showing it goes from 1984 to 2022. So when that layer is added, you can play around with it. You can even make animations that you can export. And right now I'm going to show you how you'd actually create the animation that you can then later export for sharing with anyone. So the first thing that you would notice is this time bar. And if you hover over the left-hand side, you'd see that the time is disabled. You can enable it so it can actually start moving. And if you go to the time tab in the menu bar, you'll notice you have a variation of options that you can play around with to make your animation more specific to your choices. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to zoom into a random place so we don't have to use way too much for things to render and show. So I'll just zoom into that water body over there. And now we're going to configure the time settings. So under snapping, just make sure that that is on because this corresponds to how often you want to show your data. At the current time, it's saying seconds, but you know this is an annual data set. You would change it to years because you wanted to show for each year. And in the current time, if you change the span to 0, this will only show 1 year of data at a time when you do create your animation. Remember, all of this, I might be going a bit quick, but all of this is included in the Digital Earth Africa website, so you can follow them as well at your own pace. So if you go to the play button, you can actually play and you see that that is moving and that is also changing. So it's showing you how this water body has changed for each year since 1984 up until 2022 using the water observation from space annual summary. So there's different things that you can do. You can change the direction in which it's moving. Now we're going backwards. You can make it repeat when it gets to the end. You can reverse it when it gets to the end. And there's different options that you can do for your animation that you can play around with. You can also control the speed. Now it's going pretty fast, but you can also make it go very slow. So if you're seeing a single year, you have more time to focus on the changes before it moves on to the next year, but that's all up to you. And you can stop and go backwards one, go forward another few, and these are just playback options that you have. So if you want to create an animation for your time frame, what you need to do is you have to go in the time and you need to click on the View tab. Wait, I had actually created it. So you're going to go, you'll be in the time and you're going to go to the View and you will add an animation under the Animation tab. This will give you this animation timeline pane at the bottom. You see that it's empty. There's nothing going on there. And if you want to actually create an animation, you have to import the time slider steps. So that will add the different keyframes of your animation. And there's different options that you can look at. You see the duration of your animation will be 1 minute and 57 seconds. If you feel that's too long, you can just change that to 30 seconds. If you want it to move pretty quick. So these are the options that you have. And so if you select, you see that the animation is empty. If you select the first one, no, sorry, my apologies. So the animation is empty. It's not that it's not drawing the area that you're looking at, but rather it just takes a bit of time to render and draw. So while I'm working through the rest of the stuff, you'll see that it will actually start drawing these images for each keyframe in here. So they'll be populated soon. It just takes a bit of time for them to actually populate. And once that's done, you can actually add text, add for like the number of years you wanted to show, and that will be part of your animation as well. So let's just give it a bit of time to load because I don't want to export it before it actually loads the keyframes. I'm not sure if what you could tell me this pane that I'm moving around with the different options, is it covering the screen on your side or is it just on my side? I don't want it to cover anything that I'm clicking on.
We can see your screen full. So there's almost like 3 portions: content, and then the map in the middle, and then the catalog on the right. And then there's almost like this time frame or time stamp at the bottom. So we can see everything. And it's now moving. It's now updating at the right at the bottom. Yes.
Great. So yeah, and you can actually see that's filling in all the time, the keyframes for our time frame, 1984 to 2022. So because you perhaps want to know what each, when you play your animation, what each keyframe relates to in terms of the year, you could actually add text. So if you go to the overlay pane over here and expand it, so move this thing to the bottom and expand it there, you can add a map time. So you'll see right now, if I were to leave it as it is, it would add the start time and the end time, but you can edit it to however you want. I actually prefer to just have the year. So I would remove the second line. So you can just have the first line. And if you want to show or like have a preview of what it would look like, you can test it by playing it on not on this time slider thing, because the changes have not been applied to the time slider, but rather to your animation. So if you were to play your animation, actually, let me redo that. To actually add the text, you have to select all the keyframes, because the way I've just done it, it added it to the first keyframe and not to the rest. So if you select the first keyframe and you scroll to the end of your keyframes, hold shift and select the last one, it will select all of them. And then when you do add the text, it will be added to all of your keyframes instead of just the first one. So you need to make sure that you select all of the keyframes before you actually add the text. So when I do play, you'll see that it actually adds the time that corresponds to each keyframe, 1998, 99. You can have this time formatted in whatever format you want. If you want year, month, day with the time, you can do that. And that is something that you can also see in the instruction that we provide on our website. So now that you've created your animations 30 seconds long and you're happy with it, you can actually export it. So once that's done, you can go to the export pane right there. movie and export. You can choose whatever type of exportation that you want. I just prefer a GIF. So if you select that and give it a name, save it wherever you want to save it. I'll just call it map test. Save and export. You'll see that it actually starts exporting. So this is something that's going to take quite a bit of time, but I do have a pre-saved GIF that I can share with you. So let me just share it on the screen, start sharing that, and then share. So you can see this is one that I created beforehand. So if you want to look at how a certain water body or whatever layer that has a time component to it, if you want to do an animation, you can do so and save it and share it with anyone that you'd like to share with. So let me go back to sharing my ArcGIS. So yeah, this will take a bit of time. So I'm just going to stop it because we're not going to wait for it. We're just going to continue to the next one. So right now I've covered the web map service, the WMS, and the web map service with the time component, the WMS /T. So that's the first one that I'll cover. Now I'll move on to the WMTS. So this is basically the same thing as the web map service, but it is tiled rather than a single image. So I'm just going to remove these since we're actually done with them. Remove. I'm going to close the animation tab as we don't need it at this point. And now we're going to add the WMTS. First, I'll just go copy the URL for that. Remember, you can find it on the website, and we also added it on the presentation. So if you go again, insert, connections, server, this time we choose WMTS. Let's paste the URL. Okay, so it's added. So wait, that's the first one. So I'll just add, let me just do the world land cover. So it's just loading. You'll see it gives you tiles instead of a single image. So as it loads, it will load for your area of interest in tiles, which is technically supposed to be faster than what it would be if it was just a single image. Let's give it a bit of time to render. Oh, there it is. There is rendered. So that's also how you can add a WMTS. So essentially it's the same thing. You're just changing in the selection of the server. Instead of a WMS, you choose a WMTS. So it's the same thing. Now we will move on to a WCS. This is the one that's slightly different from the two that I just presented. Let me switch this off so it doesn't render the whole time. Actually, since I had that animation, let me remove it so it doesn't block the screen. So the WCS, it's still the same process. Now you just take a different URL. So insert, connections, server, and you select new WCS server. Just paste it there. That will connect. There's your WCS server. So you can just add any one of these. Earlier, I made the example of using I believe a Landsat image. So let's just take surface reflectance 5. There actually seems to be an issue with rendering of the WCS layers. So this is probably something in the back end. So this is something I'd have to investigate, but this is essentially how you'd add it. I'll go on and follow up on why it does not draw, because it does not actually show anything. It shows that it's done rendering, but there's nothing showing. That is unfortunately a problem I cannot fix at this moment, but I will go on and ask and have it fixed. But that is how you'd add your WMS, WMST, WCS, and WMTS as well, and how you can use them within. You can obviously do whatever work you need to do in your more traditional GIS softwares, ArcGIS, and I'm sure ArcMap. I'm not sure if anyone still uses ArcMap, but it still also does allow for this. QGIS, any software that allows for the addition of your web services through a URL would allow you to actually do this. I apologize once again for the fact that the WCS is not rendering, but I will follow up on that and hopefully fix it. By the time you try it on your own, it should be fixed. Okay, so that is all for my actual demonstration in ArcGIS. I'll just go back to the presentation and share that. So as I said, these are the URLs that I was pasting there. So when you get the presentation, you can actually see them. But if you go to this link, which will lead you to the site, you'll actually see all the links included in the step-by-step guide that tells you how to add these web services within your QGIS and ArcGIS as well. So yeah, that is all for me in terms of web services for GIS as offered by Digital Earth Africa. But please do remember that we do have training courses that you can sign up for with the Digital Earth Africa Masterclass, Introduction to the Sandbox, amongst other things. And they are all available in English and French. And you can also receive a certification at the end. And you can also learn more about us if you visit our website at digitalearthafrica.org, and you have the opportunity to subscribe to our community and receive quarterly newsletters and invitations to attend events. So just go on through to the help desk at digitalearthafrica.org, and you can also sign up for these weekly live sessions, which if you're here, you know how it works. And there's the link to join the live sessions on Zoom. So if you do have any questions, any information, or anything you'd like to share, please do reach out at info@digitalearthafrica.org. And also, of course, you can contact our capacity development lead, Dr. Kenneth Mbia, and our user engagement manager, Joseph, as well as our technical manager, Edward, for any queries or anything you need assistance with. Thank you so much, Maud, for the opportunity to present on web services. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them and answer them before we end the session. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mpho, for this amazing presentation on web services for GIS. I have in the chat box dropped a link that Mpho was referencing to that particular service. So please do click onto it. Mpho, there is a question about whether they can have the link to the connection. So is the link that I've dropped in the chat box and the link to the actual connection the same thing?
Let me just check the link that you... Yeah, so the link that Maud has dropped has the step-by-step guide, and it has a URL for each of the web services that I just went through, so it should work. I will make sure to follow up on the WCS in terms of why it's not rendering, but the links should be available on that website. Thank you, Maud.
Thank you so much. There is also a request. I don't know if it's for you or for the capacity development team. Please cover how to access these data sets in QGIS next time. So our capacity development.
I will just say the link that you just dropped goes through both QGIS and ArcGIS Pro. So there is a step-by-step guide. We just thought this time we'd do the demonstration in ArcGIS, but if needed, we can come back and do it in QGIS.
I've dropped the link once more in the chat box, and we will also do the same in the comments section so that you can be able to access that. So please do, and you're more than welcome to reach out to us if you have any questions or queries after giving it a try and you're finding that you're experiencing some kind of challenge or sort. I don't know if there are any other questions from any of the leaders here today with regards to today's presentation about web services for GIS. I'll take the silence to mean no. Mpho, thank you so much for this presentation. It was really clear, and I'm sure the leaders have found it useful, and they'll be able to go and practice in their spaces and come back, and they'll let us know if they are experiencing any challenges. When we have these events every week, we attract leaders not just from the continent, but also from across the world. And Africa is quite a big continent. And we love to give our users the opportunity to introduce themselves, let us know where they're joining us from across the continent and the world. And at this point, I'm going to call upon our capacity development lead, Dr. Kenneth Mubia. Dr. Ken, we've got implementing partners, we have special guests, we have our user community. Please let us know who is with us here today. I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you so much, moderator, and also for the benefit of the request from the youth mappers is that Mpho has done the part, and for the QGIS, everything is same as was outlined, where everything is step by step. And as you can see, everything is the same. All the connections are there. And I think today there was an issue with the network, so that is covered, and everything works. So we also want to assure our partners that all the links are here for us to use, WMS, WFS, and also in the background, I'm running a small class of early learners in case. Yep. So everything is as was outlined, and you can connect, etc., etc., etc. So you can choose the images, suffix reflectance, the Annual GeoMAD, for example, and you can even look at the Sentinel tool, and you can just add to your presentation. So that being said in mind, back to today's class, those early learners have finished their assignment in the background. So our partners today, I wish to recognize one of my former students, Franklin Rono, from Regional Center for Mapping.
Yes, thank you so much for this presentation, and more so that today I'm joining in for the first time. Even since through I've known about Digital Art Africa, I think the kind of work you're doing is superb. And from now on, with my friends, I think we should be joining you guys, especially as audience, and also providing some of the trainings if need. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Frank. Shukran. Also moving to the other side, I wish to recognize one of our partners from Diversity and Inclusion, Madam Nancy Marago. Please, you're welcome to greet the partners. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, Kenneth, for the opportunity. I am happy to keep learning because information is not just for me, but it is for all our users. And I also want to take this opportunity to appreciate the DE Africa family led by Joseph for facilitating the training that we had for the students. And as we agreed and discussed, we look forward to further partnership in training more users for the platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy and Frank from Kenya. Moving to West Africa, Rodrigue Lele, based at Burkina Faso. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Bonjour à tout le monde. Merci beaucoup pour la parole donnée. Je suis toujours avec intérêt pour toutes les présentations. Et aujourd'hui, particulièrement, j'ai été très satisfait de savoir qu'on peut intégrer l'outil Digital Earth Africa dans les autres applications du GIS. Donc, je vous remercie beaucoup pour ces formations continues. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Ele. He's in Burkina Faso, currently working on water extent program, and soon he'll be sharing his results in international programs, and also still in West Africa, recognizing Cynthia in Ghana. Colleague John F, based at Kurat, I believe we connected last year. Bonjour, John.
Okay. Bonjour, Monsieur Kenneth. C'était un plaisir de participer à la session du jour. Je remercie la présentatrice qui a bien donné une formation sur le GIS, et c'est toujours un plaisir d'être avec Digital Earth Africa. Merci beaucoup pour cette opportunité dans le renforcement des capacités.
Merci beaucoup, John. And just moving to my neighbor in Somalia, Liban, we engaged in some time, and he's been working on a very good product, and he's based in Mogadishu. Liban?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. This session was very interactive and very useful, and thank for all participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Liban. And over to moderator, because the list is endless, but thanking all the partners who've joined us very far, and possibly if Bako was able to intervene as we close, back to the moderator. Monsu Bako.
So thank you, all the participants. I want to thank all the participants for having time to attend this live session. As I said, it's always a good opportunity for us to be part of the live session, to learn a lot, and to hear from all our colleagues what they are doing in the field, which allow us to improve what the Digital Earth Africa plan to do for all the community. Thank you so much. Over.
Thank you so much. And Bako has been with us the last 3-4 years. He's the veteran, the program based in Niger. Back to moderator, Madam Nale. Thank you so much.
It's always such an awesome opportunity to connect with our partners, our special guests, and our users from across the continent. Thank you so much for making these live sessions a success. I want to encourage you to let the world know about Digital Earth Africa and about these live sessions. We share the information every single week, so please do look out for those. Speaking of every single week, we host these live sessions every single week on a Wednesday at 11 a.m. GMT. Today, it was in English. We alternate between English and French. So if you prefer this particular session in French, we will have it next week, Wednesday. So don't you worry. Si je préfère cette session en français, sera le mercredi prochain. Next week, Wednesday, we will have this very same session, Web Services for ArcGIS in French. As always, we never want to leave you without an opportunity to connect with us. So just ahead of you or in front of your screen, you're going to see the ways that you can do so to connect with us. Our website is www.digitalearthafrica.org. We are on email, info@digitalearthafrica.org. I want to speak about the online courses that Mpho spoke about earlier. If any of those interests you, they are free and self-paced. You do receive a certificate at the end of the course, so please do register for one of those. Learn.digitalearthafrica.org. We're also on social media, which is Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube by the same name, Digital Earth Africa. Let's continue engaging, and this conversation can also continue on our social media pages.